Hello everyone, Bailey and I are here today to talk about our Hyperion quilt, huh Bailey? Okay, thank you. We are doing month 2 of our Hyperion quilt. She was sleeping until just a minute ago. Okay, get over, get away, get, move over. Okay, we're doing month 2. So this month is all about flying geese. So get out your ultimate flying geese ruler and you're going to cut a whole bunch of squares. Now this month we're doing a completely different size flying goose. We are going to make 4.5 by 8.5 inch flying geese. So they're really big this month. Usually we're cutting about 5 3/4 inch squares. This month you're going to be cutting much larger squares for your flying geese. So this month you are going to cut 9 3/4 inch squares for the base of your flying geese. And then your smaller squares are actually going to be 5 1/4. Okay, so all your big squares are going to be 9 3/4 and your small squares will be 5 1/4. All right, so let's go over the cutting instructions. So it's all about labeling this month. Everything you're going to want to label. So let me go over the labeling of this. So you're going to be cutting 6 different colors of fabric. So you are going to cut, and most of it is just going to be one square. There's going to be 2 of them that you're going to cut 2 squares. So let's go over cutting and labeling, and I'll explain why you're going to label it the way you're going to label it later, but just label it the way I say. Okay, so you're going to need 1, and they're all going to be 9 3/4. So you're going to need fabric 2, you're going to need 1 9 3/4 inch fabric square, and you're also going to label it A. So fabric 2 is going to be A. Fabric 5, you're going to have 2 squares, and that's going to be B. 6, you're going to have 2 squares, which will be C. 7, you'll have 1 square, which will be D. 10, you'll have 1 square, which will be E. And 12, I ran out of my big clippies. I'm going to get another pack of clippies so I have more for demoing. So 12, this is 12. Can you see my little 12? Is also going to be F. So you're going to make 4 flying geese of 12, 4 flying geese of 10, 4 flying geese of number 7, 8 of 6 because you have 2 squares, 8 flying geese of 5, and 4 flying geese of 2. Now, if you look at this little chart, I don't know if you can see it up close here, but when you look at the little chart, it might also help you to underneath here, underneath your flying geese, put your color. So this was 2, 5, 6, 7, 10, 12. So that might help you as you go along here. So the first thing you want to do is make all your flying geese. And what I would do, I'm going to show you how to make one flying goose so that you have how to make one in with this video. So you don't have to go to another video on how to make flying geese. Just in case you forget a step or you get a little confused. Some people are doing this for the first time with us this year. Some of you have been doing it a couple years and you can do it in your sleep. But others are just starting out. So I'm going to do one this time on this video. You don't need to see me do them all. Okay, so if I was doing this, and as I was going to do this, I would do the same step on all of them. You know, do step 1 on all of them, then do step 2, kind of mass produce these. So as you make your flying geese, you won't need your number 2 on here anymore, but you will need your letter A. So the letter A is going to, or your letters are going to be important moving forward, not your numbers. So when you make your flying geese out of fabric 2, clip your flying geese all together with your letter. So once they become flying geese, you need the letter. Okay, you will no longer need your number. Okay, because let me show you this in a second. So when you get done with all of your flying geese, you're going to come along and you can kind of see here, you're going to sew D to C. And look at this. Do you remember this guy from the first month? Then you're going to add this beauty to this. So you're going to add D and C. You're going to make 4 of them and add this guy. Okay? And you don't need to see me do that. You can sew those together. So you're going to add all 4 D's to all 4 C's, and then you're going to add these 4, and then you're going to label it and make it block 3. Very important to label that and make it block 3. Put it in a plastic bag, clip them together with block 3. Okay, set it aside for another time. Then you're going to take and you're going to go block B with block F. They're not all going in order, so you're going to grab block. That's why at this point in time, the letters are important. So once you make your flying geese, put the letters on them. Don't worry about the numbers. Put B to F to A, clip them together and make them block 4. Okay? Then you're going to take E to C to B, and then they're going to become block 5. Okay? So you can see you have C up here and C down there. You made 8 of those. You're going to use 4 up here and 4 down there. You're going to use B here and B here. You made 8 of them. 4 you're going to use down here. 4 you're going to use down there. You will make 4 sets of each of these blocks. Mark them 3, 4, 5. Be sure to mark them, clip them together, pin them together, put them in a plastic bag. Whatever puts you in your happy place, mark them, clip them, set them aside, and you will be ready for next month. Alrighty? Okay, let me show you how to make one of the flying geese, and you'll be ready to fly away on your own. Alrighty, so we're going to take one of the 9 3/4 inch squares, and we're going to add, did you see how nice these alpha clippies are? I have 32 pieces of fabric here, and I could clip those all together with these. These are the G, those are my backgrounds. Alrighty, I'm going to lay one in the corner up here, one in the corner down here. And now I know in class we talked about having that nice Quilter's Magic Wand, and I don't have mine here. I don't know where it went. I think I have like I said, I have 3 of them at the store, and I don't have any here. So I could not use that on my squares, so I'm going to have to do this in two steps. I'm going to go from here because this is a pretty long strip. So I'm going to mark from here to here, diagonally through my block, and I'm going to sew 1/4 inch on either side of the line that I drew diagonally through here. Then I'm going to cut on the line, and then Bailey and I are going to press this going up so it looks like a heart. And we'll be right back to show you how that looks. I have those trimmed and pressed up so they look like little hearts. Now I'm going to add my next squares into the corners, just like this. Alrighty, we're going to take our ruler, draw a diagonal line from the point to the point, draw a line there, and draw a line right there. Let me get that over to a sewing machine. I'll get that on there nice and straight. That'll be better. All right, we're going to sew 1/4 inch on either side of the line that we drew, trim, and then press this way. Look, it looks like a great big flying goose. All right, so stitch here, cut on the line that you drew, and then press so that it looks like a flying goose. and then I will show you what lines to line up on your ruler and trim those. Now they look like flying geese, but we're going to trim them down so they're perfect 4.5 by 8.5 inch flying geese. So we are making the biggest flying goose that we can using our ultimate flying geese ruler. So we're going to be using letter H on our ruler. So we're going to start with trim 1. We're going to lay our flying geese so they look like teepees or mountains in front of us. We will lay the ruler down so that the H dotted line runs, let me get it on there just right, so that it runs on my seam line just perfect. That little dotted line lines up with the H, and now I'm going to stitch up, I'm going to trim up here and over here. So I'm going to grab that right there. Let me get that right there and there. And I'm going to trim here and here. Right, get those out of the way. We don't need that. Pick it up, lay it straight back down, get the H right up there at the point, get the dotted lines down the seam line, trim and trim, repeat, oops, repeat. I got too much stuff in the way. Lay it down. And I would probably have all of my flying geese done so I could do the same step with every single one as I go around. But that's up to you. You could do them 4 at a time and 8 at a time, depending on which letters you're doing or numbers you're doing. And there we go. We're going to go just like this and like that. All right, so now I got all 4. Isn't this just so fast? And they're going to be so perfect. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to get my little scrappies out of the way so I'm not cutting into those. Now I'm going to flip them upside down so they look like V's or valleys. Get that little guy cut. Flip it over. Get those out of the way. Flip that upside down just like that. All right, now I'm going to flip my ruler over. Oops, over. So it's on trim 2. Now I'm going to use the biggest part of my ruler down here where it says 4 by 8, and it's going to come all the way down here and all the way up, and then my H is right down here. So I'm going to line up the H, the V and the H so it comes down to the valley on my seam line. So I have my V going right here. I can see my edge of my fabric that I've already trimmed going all the way along my dotted line here, and I'm going to trim here and here. Oh, it's so perfectly beautiful. So it's going to be here all the way over to here. I'm going to pick it up, set it back down, do exactly the same thing again. Get that little valley, that dotted line right on my seam line by point right there. This edge with the edge that I've already trimmed, and cut. Off we go. Pick it up again, come over here, set it down, do exactly the same thing again, and all of these are going to be perfect 4.5 by 8.5 inch unfinished flying geese. And when they're sewn into our quilt, they will measure 4 by 8. Kind of got that. I kind of moved a little bit on that one. We're going to get him all the way down to that little point right there. There we go. Kind of hanging off the table there, and sometimes my hand goes. So I'm going to move up just a little bit so I don't do that again. Don't do that again. Stay on the fabric. Stay on the table. There we go. That will be perfect. All right, so now when I get this done, I'm going to pick all these guys up. Pick them all up, and I am going to clip them together with my letter A. Where do I put that? Over here. Here's my letter A. I'm going to clip my letter A on it, set it aside, do my next batch, and keep those clipped together with the correct alphabet letter. Alrighty, so that then when I'm done, I can line up the right flying geese together to make those little four patch strips. Alrighty, so get to work on those. If you have any questions, you know where to find me. And we will see you next month for So What Club. And have fun with that. See you soon.